Hey guys, welcome back. And we have three of the pistons in down there, and we get these two in, and we're going to do the last one here, and we're going to do this start to finish so you can see every single step that is necessary to put everything together. Normally what I would do is, of course, I'd clean one cylinder at a time as I do it, but I would get all the pistons prepped, and then the rods, married up to the piston, and then get the rings put on. And well, first we got to gap the rings, and then have all that ready. And then once all the pistons were done with the rings assembled and everything, then I would go down through and just kind of pop them in one at a time. But we're going to do one set from start to finish so you can see everything that's necessary. All right, so the first thing we did is we cleaned the bore. So after we washed the block and everything, we blew it all out with air, and you wipe the cylinders down, and then you put a nice coating of engine oil on there, and that just protects it until you come back to that cylinder. Now I've already cleaned it with some solvent, and you want to have it so clean that whenever you rub it like this, it comes back like that, nice and clean. We want that absolutely spotless, and it takes a while. It takes many trips up and down to get it where it'll come out that clean. So that's what we want. So now we're ready to assemble. Now before we go on, I'm going to give you a heads up. I'm going to be moving the camera around several times, so if you got your Dramamine, go ahead and take that now. And before we actually do anything else, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe down below. So here we go. I'm trying to set this up here so you can see. And I got it on a little tripod here. Hopefully that's not going to move. Okay, so first thing we got to do is gap our piston rings. Okay, now you see we have our top ring, which is a moly ring. We have a cast ring, which is a second ring, and then we have the oil rings. The oil ring has two little ones that go outside. This one here is designed to basically just hold the oil and keep oil up on the cylinder walls. We have our pin, we have our piston here, and we have one of the wrist pin retaining clips in already. Here's the other one. And we have our rod bearings. We have our connecting rod, and I already took the rod bolts out of the connecting rod. Now these are Eagle rods, and from the factory they come with some assembly lube on them, but because these have been machined, we machined some oil slots in them to act as oil squirters. Because of that, these had to be thoroughly cleaned, and I don't want to trust this where any kind of filings or anything like that would get on there. So everything's been cleaned off of them, and we have some of the assembly lube here that we're going to use, and we have some of the assembly lube for the bearings. And you see we got the feeler gauge here, and we have a minimum and maximum on the ring size. What we're trying to do is get between 20 and 22. So why do I have these other ones? It's because if I'm having to gap the ring, maybe the 15 fits in there. Okay, maybe I'm trying to get the 20, so 15 fits in there, and I foul the ring a little bit, and then I try it again, and the 15 is loose, but the 20 doesn't quite fit. I kind of want to keep track of where I'm at in the progression as I move toward 20, as I don't want to have to keep trying to guess how close I am to 20. Once I get to 18 and I think, okay, now I'm getting close, and then of course I can plunge 20 in. And then we have 22 here also, so we have 18, 20, and 22. We're trying to get them all to be exactly the same as we assemble the motor. All right, so there's that. Of course, we got our torque wrench here, and we got a ring compressor. This is a budget style ring compressor. These are just okay. We're going to use it today, but it's nothing special, believe me. But it cost you maybe 15, 20 bucks, if that, at the auto supply store. And whenever you're getting ready to do this, always gotta clean the inside of this also. And we have some lubrication for the rings, I like to use Marvel Mystery Oil on the rings, and as lubricant there. And of course, we're going to use some 5W30. You can also use 330 weight to lubricate the ring compressor and also the cylinder bore. So we're going to try and do this with one hand. I'm going to move this lubricant over. Try and do some of this with one hand so we can show you exactly what we're doing here. So first things first, we want to get the rod on the piston. Now we really need to gap these piston rings, but and we can do that, and then we can just assemble everything. But the reason why we want to get the rod and the piston is because basically the rod's going to serve as a handle, because whenever we gap the rings, we want the ring to set square in the bore. We don't want it in there at a twist, because that could change the reading that we get on the end gap. So what we'll do is we'll marry these two up, and that'll act as a handle, and I'll press it down until I see a nice even where everything's even with the block. The piston's not in there sort of canted a little bit like that or like that. All right. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to find the front of the motor, which this is going to be the front of the motor. All pistons have an intake side, an exhaust side, and then that'll tell you which side goes towards the front of the motor. Sometimes you'll see like a little arrow or a dot on them. This one here doesn't have that, but I know from these marks here, this is going to be the intake side. Yep, this is the intake side, which makes this the exhaust side. All right, so we got our rod here, and we got our piston pin. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to lubricate the wrist pin bores. Lubricate that. Just got to get your finger in there. I'll leave you make your own jokes on that. Like that. Then we also want to do that to the connecting rod. And this, you get your hands dirty doing this. There's really no way to avoid that. I'm going to set them there. And then we're going to put a little assembly lube on our wrist pin. It doesn't take much. Okay, I'll set that there. Now the rod has these little notches in, and there's a corresponding notch in the cap. That's going to face our exhaust side, and we're going to double check that. And this is our intake side, so it's a good thing we double check that. Now I would have caught that on assembly, but it's good that we catch it now. So our intake side was on this side, our exhaust side was on that side. So that's why we want that notch on the exhaust side, which means to put the pin in from this side here, I believe. 1 second. Nope, the wire's on that side, so the retaining clip. And because we had that backwards, we're going to double check intake side, good, and exhaust side. Marry these up. And the factory wrist pins are free floating, so we don't have to worry about a press or anything. It just presses right in. We just bottom it out. Now we want to put our clip in. So you got to have some rags floating around to keep fingers clean. And these pistons just use a wire retaining clip, so all we do is start that down in the groove, and then it'll spiral its way down in. Sometimes these will give you a little bit of hassle, but these ones here, compared to some of them, are not too bad. They're pretty easy to work with. So I'm going to try and do this without. It's pretty much impossible to do this, without getting your fingers in the way. So, being able to see. So let me turn this around here this way, so I can work on it a little bit easier. Start with one end, so pressing it down in, and sometimes you got to get a little bit of a screwdriver here action going here, Get that started. Once it starts to spiral in, it'll just drop right in. Come on. Push that down a little bit. And this is the easy kind. Let's pop that out again. Let's try it again. Okay. It's trying. There, we got one side down in, and it's starting to spiral its way down in. It's very close to being in right now. So we're just going to kind of work around and kind of push it down in, and it'll snap into position. But once, there we go, that's one side, it snapped in. And we'll work our way around. And once it gets in that groove, it'll kind of pull its way down in. There we go. Now we want to just double check it, make sure it's in all the way, give it a good look, double check our other side, and then double check this side, and we're good to go. Okay, so that's step one. Now we got to gap the rings. So we're going to show you how to gap the rings. And to do that, you need this tool, and I can't remember how much this tool is. It's less than 50 bucks, but you can file the rings by hand. But it would be very, very difficult to do so. So if you're going to do more than one motor especially, it's a good idea to get one of these. They make one that runs off of a little motor or a drill, but this one here, I like this because you can actually control the speed, because these rings are really, really close to what we need, and yeah, as far as gap wise, and we don't want to overdo it. Now, there is a top and bottom to most rings. There'll be a little dot on them, or you'll see a chamfer. On a top ring, the chamfer will go towards the top. On the bottom ring, the chamfer goes towards the bottom. And how you can remember that is the chamfers always aim away from each other. Okay. Now, for this particular ring, there's no dot on it and no chamfer. This is the top ring. It's a molly ring. And I don't know if you can see that on camera, but they cut a little groove in this outside, they machine a groove in it, and then they fill that with a molly. And it's supposed to be better for racing, better for performance. The second ring is always generally cast iron, and then they make the chrome oil rings. So let's get started. Let's get the first one down here. So we're going to come over, and we're going to do this. It's going to be the shaky cam for a little bit. And so what we're going to do is get that down the side there. Just get it started. Then we're going to grab our piston, and we'll push that down in. That's it. That looks pretty even there. Okay. Oh, there went my tool. Sorry about that. There we go. And now we're going to take our feeler gauge and check it. So we're going to start at 18. 18 fits in there loose. So what we're aiming for is 22. 20 fits in there good. Let's move on to 22. And 22 just fits. Let's see. Let me get the camera straight up here. Here we go. 22 just fits. It can feel a little bit of friction there. Where 20, it slides in, and I wouldn't say it rattles around, but there's no friction at all there. Okay, so 22, just a little bit of friction. So that ring is good to go. So let's get rid of that. So we'll just pull this ring out. I'm trying to watch what I'm doing here, but also watching the camera. It's a little challenging. All right, so let's grab our second ring here. And there's a top and bottom to this. Let's take a good look at it. I don't know if the camera will focus on it. But I don't think it really matters to set the gap, but don't take any chances. Okay, there's chamfers on that side, so we're going to flip it over. All right, we'll push this down in. Come on, get in there. And I wouldn't say whoops, there we go. I wouldn't say the rings are fragile, but you don't want to put them in too much of a torsional twist. Let's push that down to where it's even all the way around. down a little bit on one side. Some say there's you know, an inch down in there or whatever, but the bore's straight and um, the piston's flat, so it'll work out good. All right, so goal on this one is about 20. So let's go here. Start with 18. 18 feels like there's a little bit of friction there, like it's about 18. And yeah, I suppose if I really shoved it in there, I could probably get the 20 thousandths in there, but I don't want to do that. So I want that friction fit the way that 18 thousandths you know, blade fits. So I'm going to pull this little guy out, and we're going to mount the camera back up top here, so you can see what we're doing. There we go. So all we do, what I did is I took the tool, and I think I got this from Summit, but got the tool, just mounted it on a piece of plywood, and you can clamp it, you know, if you're doing like a V8 or something. But this one, because we're, you know, we only have to do a little 4-cylinder, I can just kind of stabilize it here. You do have to watch so the ring doesn't, as you put it in there, so it doesn't twist this way or this way. You want to have the two ends filed nice and straight, not where they're twisted, like, so the ring isn't twisted that way, where you get a wider gap here and a wider gap on this side where the gap will be crooked. You don't want that. And it's real easy to do too. So we got a couple little tabs here, so we're going to squeeze that in. Just give that a second there. Whoop. A second. Get in there. So it's not going to need much. And whenever it fell, it damaged that wheel, but we can still use it. It's okay. Just back it up. Just go one direction. Back it up. A little bit more. And they make replacement wheels. We can put a new wheel on it. It's no big deal. And one more. So we want to sneak up on this. Now, before we go any further, this wheel, because you're grinding these ends, it leaves a little bit of a burr there. So we're going to take a file and deburr it. There's a special way you have to do that, especially with the Molly ring. You never want to file outward or up, like on this side, upward and out to this of the cylinder. You always want to file down toward the center of the ring. So from here we're going to do just a couple light passes, a couple passes on the inside. Don't want to actually file a bevel on it, but just want to get rid of the burr. A couple passes on the outside, and a couple passes on the underside. Same thing with the other side. And how can you tell if you're doing it right? Real simple. You just use your finger. You'll be able to feel the burr. There's still a little bit of a burr on that one. That's a lot better. Yeah, I don't want that rounded off, but I don't want that burr on there either. Just give it a listen a little bit more. I'm not pressing real hard. I'm just pulling the weight of the file. I always want to move real progressive with this stuff, not real fast. All right, now, so the procedure would be to put it in the motor and set it up in the bore and then check it again. So that's what we're going to do. And if you have it where there's a lot of meat that needs to come off of these, boy, I tell you what, it's a lot of trips back and forth, but it's better to go a little bit at a time. Boy, that camera's moving around. Sorry about that. So we're trying to reach for things, and I don't want to be waving the camera back and forth, but it is kind of anyway. But all right, so we're square up in the bore there. That looks good. All right, let's grab our feeler gauge. Really need a cameraman is what I need. All right, so where were we at before? We were at 18. It feels a little looser there, just a little bit. And so then we're going to go to 20. And that is very close. Now I can get it in there quite a ways further than before. I don't have to push on it real hard, but it's not exactly that friction fit that we're looking for. So we're gonna do it again. And this is all part of it. You have to do this. On one of the rings here, I think I had to go back and forth about 5 times. So we're gonna try this one again. We'll just repeat the same process. Hold there, we go. It's gonna be a long video. One more. A little bit. Oop, a little bit of an angle there. There we go. There we go. That's what we're looking for. You should have put a clamp on it. There we go. And we deburred again. That feels good. All right, let's give this a check. See how we did. We're already over 20 minutes on this, but this is the way it goes. So I think we might have to do this in 2 parts. There we go. We're centered up. So we'll maybe get this done, and we'll do the rest of it in part 2. So 18, it's actually quite loose now. 20, it's just a little bit of friction, just a little bit right there. That's exactly what we wanted. Exactly what we wanted. Whoops, there we go. Okay, so we'll pull it out. And if you notice, this piston ring has a dot on it right there. So that side will go up. So some of them have a bevel on, some of them don't. Let's see here if I can get a sideways view of that. Yeah, see, I don't know if you can see that in the camera, but there's a bevel, and the bevel's on this bottom part here. And that goes along with what I said. That means the dot will go on the top, so we're good to go. All right, so this will be a 2-parter. Tune in next time, and we'll actually be dropping this down in the bore. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video.